I've not found any loot. Let's see, can I switch this? You can't even switch this. Oh no, you can't switch switches. Huge if true. Huge. Huge.
I'm searching a bin. I found this game.
Oh, that's funny, man.
And then I just got hit by an invisible zombie. Brilliant.
Yo, what is up, boys, and welcome back to yet another exciting Survivor Nights video. If you missed my video yesterday, I said some very, very harsh things. There was a bit of controversy, I guess. Some people getting very angry in the comment section. People threatening me in Discord saying, you know, they don't want me to be a part of the Survivor Nights community. Yada, yada, yada. And with all of that drama, I wanted to talk a bit about the topic of early access zombie survival games, and also tackling the question of, is it okay to critique an early access game, no matter whether it's an early access zombie survival game or not? Because this seems to be something which people keep on doing. Every single time someone critiques an early access game, or an alpha game, or a pre-alpha game, whatever the hell you want to call it, people always say, but it's alpha, but it's pre-alpha, it's early access, the developers are trying. Does all this stuff excuse or allow people to be impervious to critique? I'm not really too sure, and that's what we're going to be talking about today. The footage in the background is from a bit later on during that night of the first launch of Survivor Nights, in which the servers were a bit more playable. There still was some big issues. I seen Shroud fell through the floor.
Oh, so the game actually works a little bit. It's functional. Functionable.
Mm-hmm.
What?
What do you mean, what?
Come on, bruh.
What?
I spawned through the fucking floor, dude.
Oh, functional.
Oh, and loot as a whole just didn't really work. The only place you could loot is fridges. Other than that, there was no loot in the entire map. It was impossible to get weapons. It was impossible to really do anything. If there's loads of mechanics in the game where you can, like, you know, craft electricity systems and put light bulbs in places and shit, there's no possibility of us working if there's no loot to obtain. So hopefully we fix that tonight, and I'll be streaming it then. But just so you guys know, the gameplay that I was experiencing was definitely a lot more enjoyable than my first ever video. But still, serious question for those of you who constantly defend early access titles, but what makes an early access title? Like I said before, why can't you critique an early access title? Can someone please tell me the reason for that? I've personally dealt with these early access titles for years and years, and ultimately, many of the people who make these early access titles are not skilled developers, and that's fine. No one's stopping you from starting a Kickstarter, just like Survivor Nights developers did. They earned over $100,000, and I'm not saying they're necessarily unskilled. I guess we'll see in a year from now, but there's many Kickstarters where people say, we've got this big dream, we've got some basic assets, we have a very early concept, just like Survivor Nights did, and they want to take the funding and essentially set up a small team of inexperienced developers, just a bunch of friends, I guess, that's what seems to be the case in Survivor Nights, and then tried to make a game. Literally, their only experience, as far as I can see from a Kickstarter prior to this project, was owning a Minecraft server with a bunch of friends. That was the entire development team, or the entire team was just a bunch of guys who played Minecraft together on some Minecraft server. And, you know, there's nothing stopping you. Like I said, you can start a Kickstarter, you can try doing whatever you want. You know, I personally launched a YouTube channel, tried to, you know, make YouTube videos which people enjoyed, and somehow I ended up getting a job from this. I don't think I'm that good at video editing, but I do a decent enough job at doing something, I guess, so, you know, yay for me. But yeah, no one's stopping you from doing that kind of stuff. But the problem arises when these developers who are making these early access massive scope survival games, where they make these massive plans with these amazing sounding features, and they talk about the scale and the zombies, and ultimately making a game like that it's really hard. It is really hard to do, and there's been multiple times where people have tried to do that and they have simply failed. That's the thing that a lot of people don't realize about these early access survival games, is that they can possibly fail. Just because someone says it's early access does not mean it's immune to criticism, because there's a chance that it might never leave early access, or even if it does leave early access, there's a chance that it might never have the features which they originally stated. Like, there's a reason I asked you guys earlier, why are these games not, you know, reviewable kind of thing, because I don't get it. If I tell you guys all my videos which I'm making are early access, does that mean I can upload shit content? My content is pretty bad, but yeah, it's kind of a bad analogy, but you get what I'm saying here. It just does not excuse the actions. If someone spent several years doing something and they are still not successful at it, then that just means they aren't necessarily destined to succeed. Ultimately, not everyone can succeed in their goals, especially if you have very, very high goals. It doesn't mean you can necessarily push out a project of that scale. well. If a game like Survivor Nights, which I'll come around and say, do you know what? I'm sorry. It's a great game. It's came a long way. The developers are doing a great job, and I'll say, yeah, I was wrong. We've done a good job. But if they push out a product after being delayed several times, and that product is not up to scuff, and it's missing several features, and it's pretty much an unplayable project as it is right now, it doesn't matter whether it's pre-alpha or not, those facts still remain. If someone's worked on something for 5 years, a game for 5 years, which Survivor Nights has not been in development for 5 years, but it has been for at least 3.5, 4 years now, and they come out with it and they say it's pre-alpha, it doesn't excuse it, and I really don't get that. The problem really with, I think, everyone's mentality with survival games, which even I myself fall into, is they dream of these things that just aren't possible. It feels like even for AAA development studios, having, you know, an open world with like 100 players and zombies and barricades and detailed health systems and voice of IP, which doesn't sound terrible, which for voice of IP sounds like shit in Survivor Nights, by the way, in case you guys were wondering. It's really hard to do this, you know, and hats off to all the developers who want to do that. I do truly hope that Survivor Nights developers, they obtain their goals and make this dream game that they wanted with all these cool systems they want to have in, with like traps and barricades and crafting and all that kind of stuff. I do truly, and mental systems, that's pretty cool idea. I do truly hope that they can pull this one off. It's beneficial to me and my channel if they do pull it off, but I'm a realist. If something is not, you know, up to scuff, whether it's alpha, beta, full release, or whatever else, and I do believe there's some red flags saying, hey, this is not the quality of a product that it should be at this point, regardless of what stage it's in, then I'm going to react to that, and I'm going to say it's not worth buying right now. The game is badly made or whatever else. Like, it doesn't matter what stage people are going to say it's in. In fact, this game has even taken a stage or a step earlier from any other game I've ever seen before. Most games are, yeah, I'm early access, I'm alpha. This game is a pre-alpha unlisted Steam release, so it just feels like it's even more immune to critique somehow. People even said, like, this build was only meant for backers. If it was only meant for backers, why is it currently for sale on Steam, or why is it for sale on Humble Bundle? If you wanted purely the people who originally kickstarted a game to play a game, just as they did 2.5 years ago with pre-alpha stress test, fair enough, you can do that. Give everyone an exe and tell everyone to launch for exe and to join a server. Kaboom kabam, you can do some stress testing. But that's not what this is. And you know what? Maybe I was a bit harsh yesterday, but like I said, this is not the first time this has happened. I've dealt with this shit for years. I remember when H1Z1 first came out, I was doing a 24-hour stream. I think I waited about 12 hours of spamming the login screen, which H1Z1 was a massive least compared to this game, but doesn't excuse that terrible launch. I was spamming for 12 hours, and you know what? After 12 hours, I said, this game is not enjoyable, and I literally stopped my 24-hour stream. I think it's the only time I've ever stopped a 24-hour stream. Normally, I'll just push through and do whatever. I had like 10,000 viewers, things were going great, but for some reason, after 12 hours of pushing for it and being disappointed, I snapped and didn't enjoy the game. It's the same with this game. You know, it was delayed for several hours, kept on getting delayed. I think we ended up waiting about 5 hours. And after 5 hours of waiting, I was very, very disappointed by the release. I'm hoping from this video some of you guys can see my perspective on things. And maybe some of you guys can see why these alpha games are not immune to critique. And why these zombie early access style games seem to keep on having these issues. Because they are undoubtedly massive in scale. And, you know, in terms of them not being immune to criticism, at the end of the day, they're still being developed by people, they're still taking in money, they've still been working on these things for several years, they've still been advertising, you know, features and deadlines which are not pushed, they're not met. So there's nothing wrong with judging someone if you do that. Do you know what? If I say, I'm going to do this on this day and I'm going to do this other thing on another day, you're completely within your rights to say that, hey, you didn't do that, and I'll be apologetic, or I'll, you know, explain what happened exactly. That's completely fine to do. I think this magical dream world that all my viewers, myself included, live in, where they hope that one day this game fulfills all their dreams and is this epic open world zombie survival game with roleplay and shit, it might never become a reality, especially from a small indie team. There needs to be one day a AAA development studio who work on it. And actually today, DayZ did release their Yen review kind of thing, in which they talked about DayZ, and I'm actually feeling a bit confident about DayZ coming in 2018. That game has been in development for more than 4 years now. It was released 4 years ago on Steam Early Access. It's still an alpha. It looks like the game is going to ultimately be an alpha for 5 years, and that's the thing. Survivor Nights is currently alpha, or it's pre-alpha? Is this game going to be in pre-alpha for 6 years, or is it going to be in pre-alpha for 2 years and in alpha for 3 years with such a small team and such a small amount of money compared to Bohemia backing it? Bohemia made almost $100,000, probably $100,000 from DayZ. This game has made a decent amount of money from Kickstarter, decent amount of money from sales, absolutely, but we've got a team of 5 trying to shoot for the stars. It's a hard one to achieve, and ultimately, there is better games out there right now for a lot less money. So that's why you can also critique these games in early access, because just because they have these amazing goals doesn't necessarily mean they're going to be achieved. And if there's already a game out there which is better, then why does that even fucking matter? I really don't know. I don't get it. So yeah, apologies to anyone if they were massively offended by the way I reacted to Survivor Nights yesterday. I guess some people said it was very childish of me to react that way, or sounded like I was crying like a baby. I wasn't crying like a baby. I just want the best for these projects, and when they disappoint me, I'm not going to sugarcoat and say it's pre-alpha, it's pre-alpha, it's pre-alpha, and shill the game to no tomorrow and convince people to buy it when I genuinely don't believe it's worth it. I'm going to say what's wrong with the game. I'm going to say that it's a bad release. I'm going to say that this is unprofessional. I'm going to say that it was delayed. I'm going to say that there's several things which have not been achieved, which were definitely advertised. And that's that. I'm just not. I'm not going to sugarcoat and let people buy a game which is not of decent standard. If I just say it's alpha, guys, they're going to fix it when I don't know they're going to do that, then I feel like that's being disingenuous. That's lying to you guys, and that's going to lead you guys to buy a game which maybe you won't like and maybe will never be what the developers hope and dream of. I've, like I said, dealt with this stuff many times in the past, and I'm not going to do it again. I've done it with games before. The Dead Linger came out in 2011. I made a video in 2013 saying nice things about it. Was some good things going on with it, like you could barricade, there was procedural generation, there was multiplayer, but ultimately the developers did not achieve the goals that we wanted. They shut down the game in 2015 because we were not capable of making a game in that scale. There's nothing stopping someone from doing exactly the same thing, especially considering a lack of development experience with a game like Survivor Nights. It's completely doable. So don't think that just because someone said something on the internet means it's going to happen or means it's true. Not everything people say is fucking gospel, and not everything people say is true. And like I said, 2 weeks down the line, a month down the line, 6 months down the line, 1 year down the line, if the game ends up being good, I will say nice things about it. I will say, do you know what, the developers have turned around. They've got through this really hard period and have made a good product. The progress they're making is great, and this is possible. There has been games in the past which have done it. Miscreate's a great example of that. They got an obscene amount of shit back in their release, I think in 2013, 2014, something like that, and they waded through the shit. That's all I can honestly say about that. They didn't have a Kickstarter. All they had is Steam sales. We've got almost 1 million sales now, and the game right now is doing pretty good. Just had a big update, adding in a motorbike. They added in a bunch of weapons recently. They added in dust storms, snowstorms, along with hurricanes, you know, the sewers, the massive open city at the northern edge. Beautiful city, best city in any style game. It is possible to turn things around, but you do need a team which is genuinely talented, and not everyone is capable of success. If that was the case, why don't you guys go make a YouTube career for yourself and say that you're new to YouTube and you've done it for 3 years and it's going to be good in the 4th year. In the 4th year, you're going to make a fuck ton of money and people are going to love you. No, not everyone is capable of achieving great goals. And maybe that sounds like really stupid, but it's just true. Not everyone can achieve the goals that they want. Okay, so that's me. I'm a realist. Sorry for not being fake and for sucking up to this shit. I'm sorry. But yeah, hopefully you guys learned a thing or two about my thought process. If you still have some critique on it, I'd love to hear what you guys think about it in the comment section below. If you do feel that you've got a really good reason as to why these alpha games are impervious to critique, I'd love to know what exactly that reason is. I can understand if it's free, or I don't know, if it's very early on in development, but those two aren't true with this. It's definitely not early on in development, and it's $25 on Steam. So, yeah, and I do understand we need to get money from somewhere, but yeah, still. Anyway, thanks for watching. Don't forget to comment, subscribe, and all good stuff. I do hope the best for the Survivor Nights project. I will be definitely keeping a close eye on it in the upcoming days. We are definitely being very dedicated and are trying to fix these issues. But even after all those issues are fixed, what does the game have to offer? I'm not entirely sure. We'll find out very, very soon. Anyway, in a bit, boys. Peace.